Okay, let's look at another example. This new example that I want to look at, I want to demonstrate using the conditional structures that we have looked at when we're dealing with the scripts. So like the if statements, if else, if else, uh, if if else, and then the switch. So we're going to look at in this example, how can we code that? So we're going to open a new blank application. I'll just open a new blank application, and I would want to perform a switch. So I'm going to put two controls and then be able to do a switch. So in our switch, we are going to um, look at using the if else statement. Then we shall look at using the switch statement. So I'll come to my component browser here, library, and I look for a switch. The switch is among the instruments here, so I'll be able to look at and see a switch. Switch is here. So we're going to use two components. The switch, when we switch on, should either light green or red. So I'm going to get my switch and I drop it there. So that means every time we move the button to on, should light green, to off, maybe red. Okay, so we need to have the lamp. So we're going to use the lamp instrument here. So I will just also drag the lamp and drop it. So every time we move the switch, the lamp should be affected. So when I come here in my app area here, the component browser, you will see that we have two components added to our UI figure. We have app.lamp and then app.switch. So one that every time we move the switch, the lamp is affected. So what we're going to do is we're going to code on the switch, and then we shall be able to code the lamp connected to the switch so that every time we move the switch, something should happen. But meanwhile, let me just first run and we'll see what our program is. I will name this as switch test app, which will be .ml app. So I'll save my application and it should be able to launch. So when the application launches, this is how it will look like. When I move the switch this way, I will need the light here to change. When I move the switch this side, it should be able to change. Okay, but as we said previously, you can be able to edit the values here. You can be able to edit the values here. So I'm going to close this window here, and I come to switch, right click on the switch, and I add a callback function. So callbacks add value changed function callback. So it will take me to a place where I'm supposed to code. So it has already generated for me some part of the code. That means we're having a variable value, and this variable value is storing a value that is gotten by the switch, which is our component here. So we would want to use first of all the if statement. So I'll come and code here, say if I'm going to compare string, because it should either be on or off. Okay, so if the string strc, that's a comparison, comparing strings. Okay, so if you want to check the one that is case sensitive, then you can use strcmpi. That's compare strings, but it's case sensitive. This compares strings, and then this one concatenates strings. So we want to compare strings. So that if comparison, we're comparing this, we have to put in two strings. Okay, so the first string must be picked from the switch, from the component itself. That's the value. So I'm going to pass a value here, and then I would want to test also if it's on. So I'll just put quotes and say on. If it's on, I'll need to be able to code something. So what do we want? If the switch is on, then I'm going to call up dot lamp. Okay, we have our lamp dot color, because we want to check the color, dot that color should be given a value of, I'll just say green, and then I terminate that part. So I would want that every time I move it to on, then the lamp should light green. Else it should have the lamp dot up dot lamp dot color being given a value of, say, red. Okay, that's when it is not on. It should be red. You can give it a color of your choice. So after coding, we have if else. So what we're going to do is now to run and try to test if a program runs. So I'll come back to code view. I run, and the test. Okay, can say whenever I move to on, it is on. Go to off, it is off. On, off, on, off. Perfect. So we can be able to get our example being done that way. That's successful. So you can be able to code as you would want, what you want to do as you desire. Just to be sure that you have understood what we have done. This example is to get the switch, get the lamp, and then you have to right click, okay, on the component. We are adding callbacks, but we already added the callbacks, so it just asks me to go to. So when you go to, it will take us where we have written our code. The code was, we have this up here is an object, and this is an event. So we are saying that every time we call this object here, an event must happen, and an event is happening. Okay, for instance, when you click or you touch a button on your keyboard, that's an event that is activated. So we are saying that once we get, we're going to get a variable here, value, and then that variable should be able to hold a value that we're getting from the switch. So the switch is the component we added. And if this component, if the value is equal to, because we are comparing strings, to on, that means should be either on or off. And when you go back to our lamp, if you checked it, the value is on and off. Those are the items that we have. So that means it is going to be determined. This is its string, the value that we are testing, okay, which is off or on. So that's what we're trying to test here. So if the value is on, if this value is equal to on, then light green, else light red, or any color that you would desire. And you can be able to get combinations of colors as you would desire. Okay, so that's very important for you to know that every time you have your program, then you're going to add a callback function, and then you code something there that you want it to do. Okay, so let's look at another example. We have looked at the switch, and we're using the if statement. Let us look at when we're using the switch statement. And then we can be able to change that to okay, we can first of all look at using the if-else if statement. So we're going to use this lamp, not going to change the lamp, but let's just rename that. So what we want to do is I want us to code a program, and our program should be able to tell us if the value that we are using is 0, then should do show not active. If we put in value 1, then should show active. If it's value 2, should be error. Value without this value, then should be signal unknown. That means we are going to use a nested if statement. So the first thing we're going to do is to change this, and we will change its value to not active. Not active. So I would want the color here, if not active, and the color should be gray. the color should be gray. So just for us to understand a little better, we would want to have our color. If it's not active, somebody should put in 0 and should show not active, and the color of the lamp should be gray. So gray is generated as this 0.90, 0.90, 0.90. So it's a combination of the RGB combination. Okay, then green will be something like this, red will be something like this, black will be something like that. Okay, so we have kept this, and so we would want to add a button, not a button per se, but we would want to add an edit field here. Then maybe we can change its name here and we call it input value. So we want that if somebody put in a 0, it should show a not active, and therefore it should produce a gray color. So we are going to create as an if statement here. So I'm going to right click on this, come to callback, add value changed FCN callback. So we have already set a value here. We have to use if value is equal to to 0, okay, if the value is equal to 0, then we would want to, we're testing this value which we are getting from the text field. So we would want the color, so we shall have up dot lamp I think changed it to not active lamp, so to be not active lamp dot color. Okay, I would want the color to be shown as gray. Remember that. So I'll just copy this color and I'll paste it here and put a semicolon. Okay, so let me try just that. I run, test if it will work. So if the value equals to 0, press enter. Zero, enter. Okay, let's first continue. Okay, let's first try testing using a switch, then we shall do an if else, maybe using another component. Um, let's say we're using a switch, so we have to do switch and we are switching value. So just say switch as value. So if we're using a switch here and we're switching the value, so we shall have case. If the case is 0, we'll have the color set. So we're saying if the case is 0, then we have color to be set. And hopefully, let's first change the text up. Dot input value edit field. Actually, it's dot not active label, and we want dot text. This should give us a value of not active. Let me try that. First of all, let me first run and put in 0, press enter. Let me just first finish it and say if I have case is 1, I'll just copy this and put it here. and this should be active. And this should be 0. This should be 1. And this should be 0. We have case is 2. We should have this should be 1, 0, 0, and this should be an error. Then we want to say otherwise. It should print for us this should be signal unknown. The color should be black, which is a 0, a 0, a 0. Remember, we have our function called input edit field changed, as in these two parameters, up and event. This is an object, this is an event handling. Then we have set the value here. Once we have that value and put in as 0, then to be able to give us 1, to give us this 2, to give us this 3. Sorry, otherwise it should be able to give us this. Let me try to run again. Okay. Okay, it can change the words, but not yet error. Okay. For unknown signal. So if I put in 1, 0, not active, and if I put in 1, light green, and it's active. If I put in 2, light red, it's an error. If I put in 3 or any other, it's unknown signal. Okay. So I'll just go back and edit a little. I'll just edit this a little, make it a little bigger, and then also make this one a little longer. Then you can also be able to change properties. So maybe I would want this to be centered, and then I can also make this one a little bigger. I would want the font to be a little bigger, maybe like 16. Or 20, and I would want this also to be a little bigger. Label. I would want this one also to be bigger, maybe 20, and I can just make it a little bigger, just for us to be able to see. You can also change on the switch. You can change this to be 20 so that they are visible. The one here also to be 20. Okay, so if I run my application once, if I do this on, if I do that, off, on, off. Okay, but still the same lamp. I've used this. If I put a 0, if I type 1, be able to change to active. If I put a 0, it should be gray. And if I put a 2, should be an error. And if I put any other number, it should be unknown signal. So be able to use an if statement and a switch statement. So another example I would want us to look at is when we use a knob. Okay, so I'm going to add a knob on here. Let me post. I'll just add a knob here, and you just come to the components. There are many of these components. You just need to go through them through this week or over and see how they literally work. Okay, so we have these components, all of them here. So let me just add, maybe you can add a gauge or a knob or something that you would want to use. So if we use the gauge, you can just increase the value changed. You can just also test that, or we can use a knob which adjusts the value within a specified range. So let me first add a knob here. So when you look at the knob, and we are using the same, okay, we're going to use the same lamp. So we are going to use the knob. Our knob here will demonstrate two things: when the value has changed, or when the value is continuously changing. For instance, you can see that there is this button which you can, like a gauge, that you can move continuously. So let's first look at using a function value changed. So we have a knob, and when you come up here, you see our component here is app.knob. So I am going to right click, but when you right click and you go to add or to callbacks, you have two functions that you can add to a knob. There's add value changed function callback or add value changing function callback. Let's first demonstrate the first one. Use this one and then we just set for us the value, and maybe we can use an if, nested if. Okay, what you said. So if we used a string comparison function and we are saying if value is of okay, so here we have to hopefully to display, we want to display value here. We want, if we test this, we are going to use the edit field, this edit field here. The value should be able to display in an edit field. Okay, so let me see. Come and say up input value dot edit field, input value dot int dot value. If we did this and we said we put the value off, and you terminate, if I run and I tried to move it, I have not completed it. So let's first complete and see. Else if this value is low, should have this give us a value called low, and I can just copy this. This medium, this should be medium. And then if I put else, this should be high. Okay. So the problem is we are actually using a numeric value, and yet we are attaching a string. We are comparing a string, and therefore the knob cannot compare to the number, the edit value. So we're going to change that. Okay, actually we shall use this one for value changed. So about that, we shall use this for value changed. Remember, we are putting in a text, so we cannot put a text in an edit text value that is accepting numbers. Okay, so we're going to use this one here, adjust value for several distinct states. So I'm going to drop this, and we'll have it here. So it's going to be knob2. Okay, so I'm just going to change a little, then I also add a text field here. Okay, I'll just use a text field which is for the text, so I can be able to get a text field here. I'll just use this. Let me move this here, let me move this here. You can actually change the size to be a little bigger. Say this will be 20. And we'll have this as knob2, but we can change always the name, the text, and we call it maybe test states. Okay, so we can also change its size to 20, and then I'll need to separate these words instead of making it as one word. Okay, yeah, I think that looks a little better. You can always edit, change the colors and all that. And then the edit field, I would want this to be called tested state. Tested state. It's either off, low, high, medium, or high. And then we can also change the font size, can be also 20. And this also should be giving something like 20. Okay, so I can just put it here, and then I'll be able to change. I just right click, add a callback, value changed, and I'll just pick up this here, remove that, and then I bring it up here. Perfect. So I'll just run, but remember we are testing this here, which we are testing here. So let me just run that, and every time I move, we are supposed to change the state. Instead of this, we are going to use the edit field up dot input value edit field label. Okay, but we have tested state knob, then we have the label, and then we have the text field we want it to display here. Dot value. So I'll just have this, change it here, change it here, and change it here. If I run it again, remember we want to test the knob, so I can be able to move it. So it will be low, it will be off, it will be medium. That was spelling problem in our code. That will be high. Okay. But if I wanted to check the speed, if it is increasing speed, that's the value changed. Let me just demonstrate that. I'll stop this, I go back here. We already added a value. So I'm going to say value changing function. And then we have it here. Okay, so I'll just say up dot knob dot value terminate. Dot value equals to this here. Terminate. So this is as simple as that. Then we can run. Of course, when we run, and when I run that, it is not going to display anywhere because I've not associated in the output. So I would want this to run, to display not in the knob here, but I would want it to display in the text field that we have up here. Let me take you back here. We want this text field here, which is input value, edit field. So I'll come back here and say up dot input value edit field dot value should be given this value. Okay, so I'm able to test. When I test, you can see that the value here changes. That's the value changing, value changing, value changing, boom, up to 100. So you can be able to move like that. So you can be able to develop very good applications, and I'm going to ask you to just go online on YouTube, just look at demonstrate each of these components. You test out these components, the date, time. If you're making a calendar, you want to add images, make your spinner, you want to edit something well. These are things that you need to be able to do, and then come up with a very good application. Okay, so that's for now. So I'll be sharing this with you shortly, but also there's an exercise that I would want you to do, so to be sent to you. Thank you for listening.